everybody, and welcome to Epic Everyday, our weekday podcast for busy, overwhelmed Christians who want to move into freedom and abundance and peace, because everybody wants that.
Yeah.
I'm Liz First, and this is my husband, Evan.
Hello.
And we are so glad that you guys are here with us on this wonderful Thursday. And as you guys know, if you've been tuning in this week, we are talking about the holidays.
Yeah, isn't it a little early for that?
Yes and no,
Yeah.
because as we talked about on Monday, preparation is the best defense. What is that? The best defense is a good offense. I don't know, somewhere in there. Yes.
Preparation's the best medicine. Laughter's out, preparation's in.
Okay. Whatever. Prepare ahead of time and you can take a lot of stress out of your life. Since it's Thursday, we are going to continue working our way through the CSCs, and today is Connection Day. A lot of this will probably be repeat, frankly, because we've been going off on connection tangents all week.
Yeah, but they're so good.
Yeah, and frankly, kind of by definition, this show is designed to be sort of repetitive because it's a reminder show. It's not and hopefully we're bringing you guys some new information, and hopefully even with the repetition, different things strike you in different ways. At least for me, I can read the same thing 20 times and I think something new about it every time.
Yeah, totally. Depends on time of your life and even just the time of
day.
Yep. So today we're going to be talking about being intentional about our time with people during the holidays, right?
Right, because holidays, one of the big things you do is hang out with people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of what we've been talking about earlier in the week is like, be intentional about your schedule and get ready and plan things. And that's all really good. But then once we're there in the thing, like sitting around the table, I know for me, sometimes it's easy to be like, okay, we made it. We're here. We fulfilled the plan. And then it's like, where's my intentionality go sometimes? It's gone.
You're done. You're like,
we
woohoo!
Did. I showed up.
We made it.
Yeah.
We're sitting down at the table. I don't need to talk. I don't need to do anything. I'm here. Check.
Right. Yeah. But those are the times we want to keep being vigilant and keep being intentional. Is that kind of what you were thinking about?
Yeah, because the holidays, even though hanging out with family is stressful, hanging out with friends is stressful, like you have all these relationships with broken human beings, and you yourself are a broken human being. I mean, we all come together and we drive each other crazy. But
and sometimes
yes.
I feel like this whole week I've been like, and sometimes we don't. But we're making a point, I guess.
Yes. Okay, best case scenario, you love your family, it's totally awesome. There's no conflict.
Wait,
worst case scenario.
Hot or cold, right? There's no middle ground for Liz.
Well, there's probably some kind of conflict. I mean, even if it's just even if it doesn't come out into the open, but even if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing Uncle Harry's fishing story for the 497th time, and I wish he would stop telling me about it.
Yeah, sure. That is a kind of conflict.
Exactly. So even though there is stress there, it's also a blessing to be able to have time with these people. I mean, I think sometimes I forget that because to me, it's really hard to connect with a group of people. And if you're at a holiday party, it's even harder to get people to talk outside of small talk where you're like, so what'd you do this year?
Yeah, you know what? That's you and I are very alike in that respect, where I find it way easier too to just have a one-on-one conversation with somebody.
Right.
But once it gets to be 3 people or more, it's just like, who do I look at? Then I feel like I'm giving all my attention to this person and not that one. And a group, I don't know. Some people thrive in groups, and we're more smaller groups, like about 2. Maybe that's why we have the show with just the 2 of us. If we ever had a guest, who knows how that would go?
It would be fine. Yeah. We do fine talking to more than just us.
Yeah. Yes, we do. It just takes a different kind of brainwave, I guess. Different strengths.
Well, and I think one of the things that we both have problems with is small talk.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like a waste of time. So, as I've said before on the show, I have to remind myself that small talk is a road to getting somewhere. I was actually reading this Pride and Prejudice fanfic where they talked about small talk and how the point of small talk is to find something that you both care about that's common ground, which I thought that was really
I
interesting.
think that's true. Yeah.
I guess I tend to think of small talk as a way to pass the time rather than like, oh, I'm out
We're
looking
kind of
for
investigating. We're trying to
right,
find.
exactly. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, and it can be excruciating.
Seriously, especially if people kill the conversation.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
the
if you're the only one investigating, if maybe it
right.
feels like you're the only one trying to find that common ground, and then it's an uphill battle. But what are some of the indicators that one might have that they're not being intentional at these meetings? Like, how do we know what?
I like how you call the holiday parties meetings. Like a boardroom meeting. Going to a holiday party, dear.
I have a 2:00 with my grandma over turkey.
Okay, anyway.
Do you know what it does? Look.
Go back, talk about your meetings.
That was my question. Glad I can still make you laugh after all these years. So people come away from the gathering. How would they know whether they were intentional or not? I guess, do you want me to say what I was thinking of? Does my question
Yes,
make any sense?
go ahead.
For me, I guess, if I come away feeling like that, oh, that was boring, or if I come away feeling like it was a waste of time, I probably wasn't being intentional. I was probably just drifting through the meeting. Buried in my notebook, doodling.
So you didn't get any good notes, I see.
Yeah. So I think, for me, I think that that's an after thing, and that's like a heads up for the next time. That's that's a little bit of that post inventory of like, well, how did that go? Boy, I was really bored, and well, that's probably because I wasn't really very engaging, was I?
Right. Yeah, it was interesting. We went to this party this last week, and it was kind of stressful, but afterwards, we both talked about how it went, and I was like, well, that was good practice. Like, it's hard for me to get to know people, and there was nobody we knew at the party. Well, almost nobody that we knew. And,
We just crashed.
no, we did know the hosts, but they were busy, and so it was definitely an exercise in like, all right, let's practice talking to people we don't know and practice
strangers.
Right. And so that was good.
But it's good for us.
I think for me, I mean, that's a big part of it is if I'm bored or I feel like if I didn't have any conversation, like it's easy for me, and maybe this is just being an introvert, it's easy for me to go somewhere and not actually talk to anybody.
Yeah. It is. Too easy.
Yeah. And I mean, this, on the one hand, because one of my things that I used to do all the time in high school was volunteer to help with stuff. And so then it makes it look like you're not quite as awkward, but you often get stuck in the kitchen doing dishes where it's like you don't have any conversations. But then on the other hand, I was thinking about it, like some of the best conversations I have had with people are one-on-ones helping somebody do something,
Right. It's more, because then it is down to just two people.
Right.
And for you and I, that's the dynamic we kind of thrive in more than the I don't know. Yeah, the bigger group, whatever it is, telling stories or whatever I don't even know. We're so bad at it. It's two introverts hosting this show.
But I do really like that dynamic of helping somebody, when you're like picking turkey off the bones and talking to people. Sometimes those are the best conversations.
Mm-hmm. I think something that helps me realize how important this is that when we're at these meetings,
Yes.
Why do you think that's so funny?
Because I just, as soon as you say meetings, I'm thinking of like everybody in suits
sitting around a big table,
ties, and sitting around a big
sitting
table.
around the table with turkey everywhere and food.
Yes, and be like, give me your third quarter earnings projection.
And pass the gravy while you're at it.
Exactly.
Anyway, something that helps that I was thinking of when, the reason why even be so intentional? Why take that inventory at the end and be like, oh, I could, how would I have done that better? Or, oh, I wish I would have done that. It's because you're probably meeting with some of the most important people in your life. I mean, if they're your family or your closest friends, or people you work with. These are people that are significant parts of our lives. And
Right.
if we're not intentional, I'm talking to me now too. If I'm not intentional when I'm around these people, who am I going to go out and be intentional around and be
Yeah.
my real self? Like we talked about moving from center yesterday. Like in this group is like
The perfect
the
place
best
to do
place
it.
to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I mean these are the people. So it benefits like people the most, I think, in this setting, the setting of the people that are in your life the most. Benefits me to be intentional and to move from my center. And I mean, by the grace of God, him building our families and our communities, in his sovereignty, it benefits them too. If I'm
Yeah.
more myself and if I'm intentional about my interactions and not just showing up and, playing video games or watching football or whatever it is we're tempted to do that
Right.
kind of break down communication at these things.
Yeah, and one of the great benefits of being intentional too is you can kind of steer the conversation, which means you don't have to listen to Uncle Larry's fishing story for the 479th time.
Yeah, you can
You can
talk
be
about
like,
dinosaurs instead.
yes. Or you can talk about maybe he likes fishing so much because he grew up by the ocean. Ask him what it's like living by the ocean.
Yeah, something a little deeper than, eating that shark that one time.
Right, exactly. For some reason, it hit me recently that my sister is somebody that is going to be with me the rest of my life. And I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a military brat or not quite sure what it was, but it was like, man. And I'm really, really thankful for her and I'm thankful for my relationship with her. But I was like, I need to really make sure that if there's any conflict, we deal with it right away because I don't want it to end up like some other relatives that we have where this conflict built up and caused all these issues and they're
Yeah.
kind of insurmountable at this point. So it was like, I don't know, it was just this revelation of, whoa, we could be best friends for another 40
That is
years.
pretty bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a long time. That's longer than we've been friends now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, you have this opportunity to work on those relationships and to make them stronger and to, make sure that they're not as stressful and overwhelming if they are stressful and overwhelming, or just make them better in general. Because these are the people, like that verse in Proverbs that talks about iron sharpening iron. These are the people that are sharpening you, at least if you know them and they know you.
Yeah. I think that's great. A great warning and a great encouragement for people that are married too. I mean, this is, you really
Right.
signed up for life for that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially your siblings, your parents, anybody. It could be your neighbors if you don't have any family. I mean, somebody, well, that's not as for sure of a thing, I guess.
Right.
But I mean, I think ideally it would be your church family too. I mean, we tend to
Right.
church hop in our culture, and I think that's not to our advantage.
Right, because the longer people know us, the more they can see our flaws and the more they can help us grow through those things. So, yeah, if you're in a church where you're not letting your true self be known, which I know I have done, as I've shared on here before, it makes it hard. All right, well, we hope that you guys have an awesome Thursday and that as you're setting your mindset for the holidays so that you can be in a good place. And, because like we were saying, preparation's half the battle.
Yes. It's the,
Or whatever
we're
we're
gonna
going
coin something
we'll
by
come up with a phrase.
Yes.
But if you start with the right mindset, it can add so much peace and take away so much of that overwhelm that the holidays have with them. So hopefully think about, maybe how you did your last holidays. How did it go? How would you like it to go differently this year? And is there anything you can do now that will help ensure those kinds of things?
That's right. And thank you for listening to the show. Please join our Facebook group. Come join the conversation there. If you like the show, please share it because we want this to be something that builds up the body of believers and helps us all to be more intentional and more in touch with our Creator and with our fellow believers.
We love you guys, and we are praying for you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you.